Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Welcome to a live lesson on A-Level Maths, Year 2. Today it's multiplying, dividing fractions. Inshallah, something that's quite easy based on what you've done at GCSE and also then revised in Year 1 algebra, so it shouldn't be a problem for you, but just in case fractions are always catching you out, then it's worth taking a look. So we're going to multiply two fractions. First one is 3/5. I'll put the divided line in a second. And the second one is 5/9. Top times top, bottom times the bottom, and then simplify is the normal technique. But do take a look at the fraction first, because sometimes it's easier to simplify first. So in this book, which is example 5 of the Pearson Edexcel Year 2 book that we're going through, we just want to take a look and notice that the 5 on the top can be cancelled with the 5 on the bottom. We can also cancel 3 and 9 to an extent, so 3 and 9 both have a common factor, which is 3, so 3 divided by 3, that becomes 1. Cancel that down to 1, and that's can cancel down by a factor of 3 to leave it as 3. So I've got 1 on the top times the 5's cancelled out, so you can just leave it as 5. You wouldn't really need to write anything in here, but just for your own reference, when we say 5 and 5 cancel out, it means that 5, any number divided by itself is 1. So we're just cancelling down by a factor of 5, leaving 1. But you wouldn't really write those ones in. It's easier to leave them out. So on the top we have 1, and on the bottom we have 3. So that's one way of doing it. Another way would have been to have done the cancelling at the end. That's fine as well, but you'll always find cancelling first will be able to let you work out the harder questions much easier. So you can do it the long way. 3 times 5 is 15, 5 times 9 is 45, and we have a common factor of 15, so that becomes 1/3. Same answer, just on with these kind of questions, as in numbers, it's going to be easy both ways. But when you get to harder questions with a lot of algebra, it's better to cancel. So always looking for what numbers cancel. Okay, let's try it with a little bit of algebra. So a over b multiplied by c over a. So while I'm writing that, just take a quick look, and in the chat window, if you can type in anything that cancels here. It's not a trick question, it should be quite easy. Okay, no answers yet, but hopefully if you're looking at this again, you've got the a cancels. Like I said, a divided by a is really 1. We don't need to write the 1. So all we're left with is c over b. Nice and easy. We don't know what c is, we don't know what b is, so we don't know that they cancel or not. We're just going to leave them as c over b. And now for something a bit more realistic to what you're going to be faced with in the questions at A level. So x plus 1 is the first fraction, and we want to times that by 3 over x squared minus 1. So have a look, is there any common common factor? Apologies, the times sign and the x look very similar here, but that's an x in the middle. So that's a times sign in the middle. So we've got x plus 1 over 2 times 3 over x minus 1 squared on the x. So any common factors? It doesn't look like it. 2, 3, they're different. X squared is different. That's x plus 1. That's x squared minus 1. Doesn't look like there's a common factor. If you can spot one, let me know. common factor is hidden in here. The x squared minus 1 comes from the difference of two squares, meaning it comes from two brackets where they're exactly the same, x and 1, but there's a plus and minus which is different, a plus in one and minus in the other. So we are going to unhide that. We're going to just extend that out, move the 3 to the middle, and instead of writing x squared minus 1, I'm going to write what it came from, which is two brackets with x and 1, and x and 1, but one's got a plus, one's got a minus, difference of two squares. So that's your x squared minus 1. That's really what where it came from. You've got to be able to spot that, and now you're looking for a common factor. Hopefully you can spot it now. Anything on the top, anything that matches anything on the bottom. If we put two brackets around here, then you'll see it immediately. The x plus 1 is a common factor, so you're left with just the 3 on the top. And on the bottom you've got your 2 and your x minus 1. With fractions you don't really need to multiply out the brackets. It's easier just to leave them in, unless it's at the top, and then multiplying out the brackets can help if you need to simplify at the top, but when it comes to denominators we'll just leave it there. Okay, so that's timesing, and dividing, if you remember, is based on just flipping the fraction and then using your multiplication. So let's just go on to the next example. So this is example 6 in the book on page 6. So we've got a divided by b, a over b, divided by, I'll have to write that in, b over c. So this time we're not timesing, we're dividing, but it's really hard to divide fractions. You can do top divided by top, bottom divided by bottom, but that doesn't normally help much. You just end up with more fractions. So the better way to do it is to use KFC, keep the first fraction as it is, flip the second fraction, and change the divide to times. So let's do the changing and the flipping. So let's take the b and the c and we're going to flip that. That means the top can go to the bottom and the bottom can go to the top. That's only allowed if you change the divide as well. So really what we're doing is multiplying by the reciprocal, but that's quite hard to keep remembering. So just KFC, keep the first fraction, flip the second, which you've just done, change divide to times. Now, before you go ahead and times, just remember, get into the habit of just seeing if there's anything that is gonna cancel here. In this case it doesn't, probably because I didn't quite write the same example in the book, but that's okay, we can do that next. So I've got AC on the top, b squared on the bottom, and there's your answer. So the one in the book is slightly different, so I'll let you do that one. I'll give you a minute, see if you can do this one. It's a over b divided by a over c. If you can do it exactly the same method, I want to see you use KFC. Tell me what the new fractions are. Then when you're ready, simplify, tell me what is going to cancel, if anything, and then for the final answer. I'll give you about 60 seconds. Hopefully you haven't struggled with that one and you're almost on with the final answer. Okay, let's just check how you did. Okay, good response from Aisha. We're gonna flip so that it becomes C over A, that's right. And we're gonna change the divide to times. Now, something's gone wrong there. I've written the question with the times and it should have been a divide. So let's start again. Give you 60 more seconds to work that one out. And now let's go for the answer. So we could keep the first fraction, flip the second. So we're going to do A can go to the bottom, C can go to the top. And change the divide to times. And now we're ready to times. So we could do top times the top, A times the C, bottom times the bottom, but we're just going to quickly scan it for anything that can cancel, which is the A. So we're left with C over B as the final answer. And the final one for today is, didn't quite copy right, so we've got x plus 4 on the bottom, x plus 2 on the top, and again I'm gonna delete the times. It's a divide example, so we're going to divide these fractions, and it's dividing by the second fraction, which is 3x plus 6 on the top, x minus 16 on the bottom. As soon as you see a square number and a square here, you've got to be thinking that we're going to use difference of two squares. So we think, where did x squared minus 16 really come from? It came from x plus 4 with x minus 4. So that's what we really want to swap here. So let's take the x squared minus 16 out and put in the x plus 4, x minus 4. And then we want to spot, we can't spot anything that's going to cancel yet because we've got a divide and we want to change the divide. So we have to do the flip. That allows us then to change the divide to a times. Let's just finish the flip. Divide can be changed to a times. Now this is what I meant about the kind of examples where you really want to be doing the cancelling first, because if you go ahead and try to do top times top here, bottom times bottom, you are going to end up with a big thing that you're going to have to start cancelling down, and it's going to look quite horrible. So look for the cancelling first. Let's get a bracket around here. We've got an x plus 4 and an x plus 4 which we can cancel, and now that should look good to multiply. X plus 2 on the top multiplied with x minus 4 on the bottom, and just your 3x plus 6. And that's your final answer. You can multiply out those brackets. But we're not finished yet, because we have to look at 3x plus 6 as well. What can we do with the 3x plus 6? Where did that originally come from? It would be nice if we could put it in bracket form, because you never know, one of the if we put this in bracket form, then it might cancel with one of the two top brackets. So there's a 3 in common, 3 and the 6, so we could factorize that as 3x plus 2, and that really is convenient because the x plus 2 would be able to cancel. So the 3x plus 6 wasn't really cancelling with anything, but if we put it into the bracket form, factorize it with the common factor of 3, we see that there is something that cancels, and now that's a really nice answer because we've got only the x minus 4 on the top, and the 3 on the bottom. Okay, hopefully you followed that, and tomorrow we're going to go on to more. We're going to go on to more fractions by adding and subtracting. So the timesing and dividing is actually quite easy. It's a revision of last year, and again, the adding and subtracting will be revision, but we're going to then take it one step further. See you Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. inshallah, if God wills. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.